Welcome to another Miata Quick Mods. In a previous episode, I showed you my completely broken and ghetto zip-tied HVAC control unit. All the mounts for the vent cables had broken off, and it's time to replace this whole thing. I'm going to show you all that, plus replacing the faceplate with a fresh one from revluminer.net, as well as some new minty fresh LEDs. So let's get into it by removing the tombstone. The tombstone can be removed after taking out the center console. There are two screws at the bottom that are easily accessed, but also two screws that are not so easy. They're behind the eyeball vents. To get to these, I like to use a screwdriver rather than the string method. And what you do is simply insert a long driver into the top of the vent and pry gently backwards. The vent will pop out. Here's the screwdriver from the back side. See? No scratches. The vents are held in place by two spring clips on either side. Just repeat the process for the other vent and you'll be able to access the screws. They're sort of hard to see because they screw in upwards, so you'll grab a Phillips head screwdriver and carefully take them out, making sure not to drop them in the vent. Next, pull back the trim just a bit so you can access the hazard-like switch connector, and what you do is you press in on both sides to slide it out. Then the tombstone is free. The HVAC is held in by just a few screws in front, but before we take those out, we'll need to disconnect the vent cables from their tabs behind the dash. There are two of those on the passenger side and one on the driver's side. We'll drop the glove box to access the first two. There's a screw at the bottom of each side of the glove box, which we'll remove, and the box will drop right out, giving us a lot of space to work. The first cable we'll go after is for the fresh or recirculating air vent. This is straight back from the glove box. Reach in and press down on the mounting clip holding the cable. This can be pretty stiff. It's a question of getting the right angle on it to push the clip open while pulling the cable out. Then the cable end will pop off the vent tab. The next cable is in the center of the dash, just above the transmission tunnel. It has a similar clip that needs to be released. And on the driver's side, looking above the trans tunnel, you'll see the last one to remove. Alright, with our face screws removed, we can slide the unit out a few inches. There are two connectors on the back that have to come out. You can push down on a little locking tab on the top of each connection and work it free. I'm going to move to the bench, aka my kitchen counter, and I'm going to remove the revluminer.net custom face so I can swap it over to the new unit. We've got some LEDs I installed previously in the old unit that I'll also transfer over. The faceplate is plastic that clips in, but we can't remove it without first getting the knobs off. So to do that, we'll flip it over to reveal the tiny screws holding on the lever knobs. A small precision Phillips driver will make short work of it. If your knobs look a little bit dingy, it's an easy way to freshen them up is to grab a white crayon. Each knob has a thin groove for the white line, and this can be refilled with the white wax from the crayon. Fresh and clean. If it gets dingy again in a couple of years, a small pick and another treatment will get it fixed up in seconds. Next, we can remove the fan switch. The center AC button also comes off with this as a unit. Just pull back on the knob and it'll pop off. There are no screws holding it in at all. The faceplate is held on by plastic tabs and they will be extremely brittle. Unfortunately, some will probably break. What I do is start on the bottom side and try to get the left and the right ones out first. If they break, the middle one will come out more easily anyway. And then you can tilt the plate back to help release the top 3 tabs, and likely none of those will break. That's the best technique I've come up with. The face label is thin plastic held on with glue. What you want to do to get this off is push with something blunt from the back to sort of lift one edge up. Starting on the thicker corner is a good idea, and then you can get something thin up underneath to hold it while you remove the rest. What I like to do is use a playing card to gently slide under the plastic and saw at the adhesive as I go. You don't want to just peel back on this and bend it, because that'll ruin it for sure. Although maybe the one you're removing is trash anyway, so it doesn't matter. In my case, I'm transferring the good one over, and so that's the reason I'm being extra careful here. When putting the new face down on the new plate, I didn't use any extra glue or tape. What was there was plenty. Take a cloth to press it down rather than use your fingers, and that avoids messing up the protective coating on the face. If you want, a small amount of heat from a hairdryer will help to reactivate the glue. The label for the fan will pop off using the same process. Now we're going to be transferring over the LEDs. I'd gotten some white LEDs to match the ones I had used in my gauge cluster. We're only going to be replacing 2 of the bulbs though. The one for the fan switch and the AC button will remain incandescent. And the reason for this is that the LED options are just too bright and look wrong in the car. Replacing the bulbs is a simple twist away. However, most LEDs have a polarity, so they need to be inserted the right way. The red wire on each socket is positive. If you're paranoid like me, you can take it back out to the car at this point and test it. Yep, checks out. Now you can get all the knobs screwed back on and slide the cables back through the dash. Make sure the cables route cleanly and don't bend in any weird way. Before you replace the unit face screws, reattach each cable to the vent tab that it's supposed to go. Pay special attention to the routing of the cable that goes to the blower. That was the fresh air vent. This one needs to be up and out of the way of the glove box, otherwise you'll have problems closing it. To wrap up, make sure everything is working correctly, that all the switches work and the levers actuate the vents smoothly. If everything checks out, you can now reassemble your tombstone and console, and don't forget to connect your hazard light switch. If you don't, your lights won't work and you'll freak out. To see more small projects, large projects, and all kind of maintenance how-tos, click that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.